Alright, and welcome to an introduction to programming. Today we're going to be taking a look at what a computer program is. We'll be looking at the different programming models that exist and having an introduction to the Alice programming environment. So first off, what is a computer program? Well, a computer program is essentially a set of instructions that a computer follows to perform a very specific task. Those instructions are something that we call an algorithm. Now we've already created a number of algorithms over the past couple of days in our flowcharts. Any one of those algorithms could easily be converted into a functioning computer program. There are many types of computer programs, most of which you have used before. Word, Facebook, Internet Explorer, Angry Birds, Call of Duty. You'll see that all of these, while very diverse in their uses, are all examples of a computer program. But this course doesn't focus so much on how to use a computer program, it's more on how to create or write a computer program for other people to use. In order to do this, you have to complete a couple of steps. First of all, you have to write what we call source code. This is code that is written in a programming language that you, the programmer, understand. So it could be something like Java, Alice, Python, C, etc., etc. Once you've created your code, you now need to convert it into something that the computer understands. The code that the computer understands is something called machine code, which is essentially a series of zeros and ones, or on and off electrical impulses that the computer can interpret as commands. This process of converting from source code to machine code is done by another program called a compiler or interpreter. Now, for programming languages that create source code, there are three general models that you can have. The first is called a procedural programming language. The procedural programming language was the first type of programming language ever invented. It's the traditional model. Essentially, it works where the program follows like reading a story. Execution starts at the first line of code and follows line by line through a predetermined path, one line after the other, much like you would read a book. The second type is called event-driven programming. In this case, the program runs from one section to a different section, jumping around all over the place. The code that's executed is executed in response to various user activities. So for example, if the user were to click on a button somewhere, that would make certain code occur. Right? So if I click on the save button, I'd be running the code that saves my game. Right? If I click on the close button, it's going to close my program. Okay? The third type of programming model is called an object-oriented programming model. This is the newest and perhaps the most powerful programming model. It's based on the idea that everything in your program is an object, so that a program is nothing more than a whole set of objects interacting with each other, sending messages to each other, telling them what to do. For example, you might take a look at Call of Duty, which we've talked about earlier. In Call of Duty, you have a world with a whole bunch of objects in it. You've got people objects. Each person object is carrying a gun object. The gun objects are carrying bullet objects. Right? They're all objects in this world. Now when my person fires his gun object, it makes the bullet object fly through the air and hopefully hit another person object, causing damage to them. So that's giving a signal from the bullet object to the person object as to how much damage they get. And so on and so on. In Alice, we're going to be using object-oriented programming, which means that everything that we create in the Alice world is going to be an object. Objects in the Alice world are going to follow three basic rules. The first rule is that all objects have information about them that we call properties. These are going to be the characteristics of the object. So in other words, I might make a kangaroo object, and it's going to have a certain height, a width, perhaps a color, all of those kinds of things. The second rule is that objects can respond to queries about their attributes or properties. So I can ask the kangaroo, how tall are you? That would be a query, and the kangaroo would tell me, well, I'm 4.2 meters tall. Thirdly, objects can modify their attributes in response to commands. So I could tell the kangaroo, okay, I want you to shrink to half your size, and now instead of being 4.2 meters tall, he's going to be 2.1 meters tall. These last two things are what we call methods in the world of programming. So here, for example, we have a snowman object. This snowman object, as we know, is going to have a variety of attributes. So what might be some of those attributes? Height, color, width, etc. What could be a query we might ask the snowman? How tall are you? What color are you? And commands would be things like move somewhere, turn to face something, say something out loud, etc. Now, the snowman is also made up of a variety of subparts, which conveniently enough are other objects. So a snowman has a head, a left arm, a right arm, a bottom. The head is going to have a face, mouth, nose, eyes, all those kinds of things. Each of those subparts are also going to have attributes, queries, and commands because each of those subparts are in fact objects. And subparts, as I said before, may also have their own subparts. So the face is going to have a top hat, a mouth, and a nose. Let's look at the Alice programming environment. So we have a variety of different areas in the programming environment. The first one we can look at is the toolbar right at the top of the screen there. The toolbar is going to contain the buttons for common commands like play your program, undo your last command, redo a command you previously did or undid, and then trash out commands you no longer want. In the center of the screen, you have your world view. This shows a view of the virtual world you're creating in your program, so you can see where all of the objects are in that current point in time. On the left-hand side, you have what's called the object tree. This contains a list of all of the objects that exist in your virtual world. So whenever you want to add a new object to the world, it will show up in that object tree. You can see here that the plus sign beside some of these objects exists. If you click on that plus sign, it will show you all of the subparts of that particular object. In the details panel immediately below the object tree, we can see a detailed information about the object that we currently have selected in the object tree. So for example, here I've selected the world object and you can see all the details about the world. These are all methods that can exist inside the world that I've created. Beside this, we can see the method editor. This allows me to create and edit methods for objects in the real virtual world. So this is where I'm going to create all of my code to make my program run. And lastly, we have the events window. This allows my program to respond instead of an object-oriented model, it responds as an event-oriented or event-driven model. So I can create events that happen and things in my world will happen as a result of those events. That's it. Now we can start creating some of our Alice programs.